This is America at her most becoming. This is America at peace. Old folks can again look forward to their papers without dread of news from tiny coral reefs that once rose up in the Pacific to distress them. Our boys have taken up where they left off. And our women are once more free to follow their peaceful pursuits, with just a few interruptions. Rarely now do large flights of planes fly overhead. And then, when they do, there is no cause for concern, only the fascination of watching swift patterns in the sky. But some of these women are more than merely fascinated. They are alert and thoughtful. A few years ago, many of these women at peace were a vital part of our wartime air power. They learned the value of these strong silver wings. They helped build them and maintain them. They learned how much the life and security of our nation depend on the strength of our Air Force. Other women served in our Air Force. They have seen close up the frightfulness of war in almost every corner of this world. They learned the value of superior air power firsthand. However, all was not grim and tragic. There were rewarding times when valuable skills were learned, times when enduring friendships were joined, times when nostalgic memories were born. That is what these peaceful wings recall to them. This young lady was an airline hostess, and so a graduate nurse before the war. Flying was in her blood, and she thought that her background might best qualify her as a flight nurse.
Before you could say ex-civilian, I was attending the air evacuation school at Bowman Field, Kentucky. These weren't real patients, but application of the experience gained here enabled us to evacuate sick and wounded soldiers from the battle zones with minimum losses. We had to learn to take care of ourselves in the water in case of forced landings at sea. How to jump with a Mae West on and climb into a rubber raft. Just as uneasy as it looks. Also that our coveralls, when inflated, would keep us afloat. When the training grind was behind us, our daily pattern was pretty much the same in every theater of war. Up at 3:30 a.m., not p.m. Beauty naps were post-war projects. Then powdered eggs and powdered milk. That spells chow, not breakfast, though the coffee was the real McCoy. There were wounded to be tended to at camp before taking off for the front lines, where eagerly awaited supplies were unloaded and the plane cleaned and converted for the litters. Wherever we went, there were the sick and the wounded. On the return flight, we'd check the condition of our patients and keep a clinical chart of their reactions. We always tried to make the trip as cheerful as possible and, despite the suffering, usually succeeded. Then, when we landed and had submitted the complete records of the wounded, the rest of the day was ours to do with as we pleased. Quarters weren't much, but we brightened them up as best we could. Some of us would read, sew, or write. Others would be domestic. The local smart vet managed to smarten up. And the pet fanciers rounded up suitable local livestock. No pig is this piggy. The athletes had their fling too. Later we dawdled through dinner. No hurry. Our time was our own. Till 3:30 the next morning, that is. Sure, we griped. That was part of being a good soldier. But these nurses in the Philippines really had something to gripe about. They were released after 3 trying years as prisoners of the Japs. For them, the war in the Pacific was over. they were headed home, hopeful that leave spent with relatives and friends would erase the bitter memories of their ordeal. They received long overdue promotions en route. Honors won the hard way. But their spirits were high as the engine sang that sweetest song, Home. Whatever the circumstances, we shared one thing in common, pride in being flight nurses. We were proud of our work, proud of our heroines, proud that among women at war, none got closer to action.
This young lady, too, decided to see some action. She joined the WAACs, the Air WAACs. Over 40,000 of them served at hundreds of air bases in the United States and in 21 foreign countries.
The Air Force, now you're talking. At fields like this one, we learned the skills we were soon to use, up where they counted most. First, it was rugged. Most of us thought we had kissed our school days a cheery goodbye, and here we were saying hello again. We got so we weren't half bad either, for a bunch of girls who used to think that snipping a hangnail was a major mechanical problem. Our primary function was to release manpower for other duties, but it was soon discovered that women could perform certain jobs better than men, especially jobs requiring finger dexterity and patience, things we'd learned at home. So let's not talk too much man-sized job stuff in the future. It's a woman's world too, even when there's a war going on. General Arnold reviewed our outfit a few days before we shipped overseas. Our hearts beat a little faster that day. A few days later, they were ticking like stopwatches. Where we were headed, we didn't know, but the rumor factory was buzzing in high. It wasn't exactly a luxury cruise, yet it seemed like one after the training we'd been through in the States. All that was behind us now, and so was a lot of water, and what happened to the rumors? Well, Hawaii was our destination, and we were plenty pleased. We were received in grand style at Hickam Field. We put on a good show for them, even though some of us were still rocking around on sea legs. Came the dawn, and with a vengeance. We soon learned why we were there and why they had been so glad to see us. They found plenty of things for us to do. Not that we didn't have time off now and then. That bugler is blowing chow call, but not for me. I never dreamt of picnicking at Waikiki Beach, but, and with a nice crowd of GIs, too. In the China-Burma-India Theater, General Chennault was on hand to greet the early WAAC arrivals. But from then on, we didn't see much of the General. He had his job, we had ours, and there were plenty of echelons between us. I think you follow me. The glamorous Orient we'd read about, we got around to seeing in the flesh. That distinguished-looking gentleman is making chapatis, pancakes to you. I hardly think Powers would go for this little model, but she was kind of cute at that. This character managed without models. After all, if the folks at home didn't have a piano to put under these shawls, they could always go out and buy one. We managed to get in a little exercise as well. Exercise? Phew. In England, fatigue marches kept us in tip-top shape. Living under field conditions was kind of rough. Some of the girls didn't take too kindly to this getting back to nature routine, but the old standby, "Stop griping, you never had it so good," would always silence the groaners. Relaxation was a cinch. Of course, I can think of more thrilling pastimes than Chinese checkers, but it did keep us off our aching feet. Air traffic was heavy over England, and mobile direction finder stations served as guides. These girls kept on their toes, giving fixes to straying airmen so they could return safely to swimming meets like this. call left, porch. We tried to be our sharpest for General Doolittle's visits. His speeches were never dull, and the one this morning was no exception.
But it's the team that counts. The combat crews get most of the glory, and rightly so, because they accept most of the hazards. But without the ground crews who service the planes, without the staff who plan the mission, without the many jobs that you girls do well, the combat crews would not be able to effectively deliver their loads of bombs. I want to thank you for what you have done and what you will continue to do as members of the team that is the 8th Air Force.
While General Doolittle paid this tribute to the WAACs in England, back in the States, General Arnold talked to another group of women.
Frankly, I didn't know in 1941 whether a slip of a girl could fight the controls of a B-17 in heavy weather that they always encounter in operational flying. Those of us who had been flying for 20 or 30 years knew that flying an airplane was something that you do not learn overnight. But Miss Cochran said that carefully selected young women could be trained to fly our combat-type planes.
Here was General Arnold addressing us at graduation, and only 6 months ago we were green recruits arriving at Avenger Field, Texas. Soon we were hard at it, from 6 a.m. to sundown. We ranged in age from 21 to 35, but no concessions were asked or given, either on the field or in the classroom, where we studied engines, physics, codes, and map reading. Each of us had to have 35 hours in the air to qualify for the course, but still the traditional ducking followed each successful official solo. So don't feel too sorry for that apparently unsuspecting gal they're ganging up on. She's been looking forward to this bout for a long while. In the link trainer, we practiced flying under simulated instrument conditions. After all, we wouldn't have been here if we didn't love to fly. So when it came to the real thing, I doubt if you could have found an eagerer bunch of beavers than the Women's Airforce Service Pilots, the WASPs. Our final objectives were never lost sight of on these training flights. To be capable of relieving male pilots from non-combat flying duties, of maintaining a safety record comparable to any compiled by airmen. Not that we ever forgot to bring our most important tools. Only one hurdle now remained before graduation. We crammed hard for those final exams, and now we were ready.
We will not again look upon a woman's flying organization as experimental. We will know that they can handle our fastest fighters, our heaviest bombers. We will know that they're capable of flying all types of ships.
In a few moments, we'd be proudly receiving our wings from General Arnold. rushing out to get Jacqueline Cochran's autograph. Throwing pennies into the wishing well.
In my pretending that the army is the proper place for a gal like me.
Then we'd set off for our new posts, equipped to discharge any duties required of us.
And the more than 18 million women who worked in our factories during the war. Women who, for the most part, had never worked outside their own homes. They filled the industrial gaps left by the men who had been mustered into the fighting forces. They performed with distinction numberless jobs requiring precise technical skills, and others that took just sweat and grit. Whatever they did, they all knew one thing. Their jobs were top priority too. These women were helping build the greatest Air Force in the world. From the production lines that hungrily absorbed their skill and their endless work, our fighter squadrons and our bomber wings took flight for the war overseas. Yes, that is what these peaceful wings recall to these women. But they also recall how much the life and security of our nation depended on the strength of air power during the long days of war. These women have the unforgettable memory of what it means to fight a modern war. They want no more of it. They want no more interferences with the daily pursuits of life. Wholehearted support and encouragement by the American people can make air power an unsurpassed weapon of defense. With understanding and support, our future in the air age will be assured. The air WAACs, the flight nurses, the WASPs, and women out of uniform who lent their skills to air power have that understanding. To the ladies, God bless them.